Are you sure that I have seen everyone, Doctor?
Yes, you've seen everyone. I'm sorry.
I don't understand it. We were told that Mark went to Jamaica.
You say you offered a reward for information about him.
Yes. I had notices posted all over the island.
And there was no response?
Nothing.
Then, frankly, Mrs. Ewing, I think you're wasting your time. You've tried the only medical clinics he might have been to, and I'm sure that the reward you offered sent everybody out looking.
Well, maybe Mark paid people to keep quiet about it.
Jamaica is a very poor island, Mrs. Ewing. There's always somebody who would give him away. Look, let me check with colleagues of mine at other medical facilities on some of the other islands. But why don't you go home? If anything turns up, I'll call you.
I am so sure that he's still alive.
Well, if he's anywhere in the Caribbean, we'll find him.
Thank you, Doctor.
I haven't done anything. But I would like to tell you something, though. I'm sure you've probably heard it a dozen times.
I know. Don't get my hopes up. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
I hope you don't mind my dropping in unannounced like this.
No, of course not.
I'd like you to meet an old friend of mine, Dr. Albert Matsuda. Albert, this is Mrs. Pamela Ewing.
How do you do?
Mrs. Ewing?
Well, I'm so surprised. What are you doing here in Dallas?
Actually, it was very sudden for me. I got a call 2 days ago to fly up and consult on a rather interesting medical case. At any rate, I ran into Dr. Matsuda, who's been practicing medicine in Hong Kong for several years. And I was telling him how strange it was that I should suddenly find myself here, especially since I had just met a lady from Dallas who was in Jamaica looking for a friend of hers. We discussed your friend's disease for a while, and I mentioned he was a Dallas industrialist.
Yes, and that struck me as rather curious. You see, I met an industrialist from Dallas not long ago in Hong Kong. He came to my clinic for treatment for the same sort of disease.
Well, what was his name?
He said it was Swanson. We didn't have the proper facilities, so I sent him on to another hospital. I do remember what he looked like, though. Tall and quite handsome. He had a mustache.
It sounded very much like Mr. Grayson to me.
Well, did you show Dr. Matsuda the picture I gave you?
No, it's not one of the things I packed in my suitcase.
Oh, no, I guess it wouldn't be. I'm sorry.
But that's why I brought him here to see you. You must have another picture you can show him.
Yes, yes, I do. Is this the man you saw?
Yes, that's him, absolutely.
Pam, Dr. Miller's on line 1.
Thank you, Jackie. Pamela Ewing.
Mrs. Ewing, how are you?
Oh, I'm just wonderful.
I hadn't heard from you, and I wondered whether you had followed up on the information Dr. Matsuda gave you about Mr. Grayson.
You're really good to the very end, aren't you?
What do you mean?
I mean, why don't you stop this charade? I know that this entire chase for Mark is a phony, that you and everybody else were bought and paid for by J.R. Ewing.
That's a very insulting thing for you to say.
Why? Because it's true? I know that it's true.
Mrs. Ewing, if you really want to find Mr. Grayson, can you take a chance that what Dr. Matsuda told you wasn't the truth? Even if you don't believe me. Could you ever forgive yourself if you didn't follow up on every lead? And again, I assure you, Dr. Matsuda is a very honorable man. If I were you, I'd follow up on the information he gave you.
Well, maybe I will. Maybe I'll think about it. Thank you, Dr. Miller.
Good luck, Mrs. Ewing.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.